ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतीरुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकय चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्णं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामीनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam. By His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. We are reading from Canto 4, Chapter 28. Puranjan becomes a woman in the next life. Just give me a minute. So we are at text 37. शीतोष्णवर्षाणि क्षुतिपिपासे प्रिया प्रिये सुखदुःखे इति द्वन्द्वेति Anjayeti Samaddarshanah. Translation.
Through austerity, King Maladhwaja in body and mind gradually became equal to the dualities of cold and heat, happiness and distress, wind and rain, hunger and thirst, the pleasant and the unpleasant. In this way, he conquered all relativities. Purport. Liberation means becoming free from the relativities of the world. Unless one is self realized, he has to undergo the dual struggle of the relative world. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna advises Arjuna to conquer all relativities through tolerance. Lord Krishna points out that it is the relativities like winter and summer that give us trouble in the material world. In the winter, we do not like taking a bath, but in the summer, we wish to take a bath twice or more a day. Thus, Krishna advises us not to be disturbed by such relativities and dualities when they come and go. The common man has to undergo much austerity to become equipoised before dualities. One who becomes agitated by the relativities of life has accepted a relative position and must therefore undergo the austerities prescribed in the Shastras to transcend the material body and put an end to material existence. King Malayadhwaja underwent severe austerities by leaving his home, going to Kulachala, taking his bath in the sacred rivers, and eating only vegetables like stems, roots, seeds, flowers, and leaves, avoiding any cooked food and grains. These are very, very austere practices. In this age, it is very difficult to leave home and go to the forest or the Himalayas to adopt the processes of austerity. Indeed, it is almost impossible. If one is even advised to give up meat eating, drinking, gambling, and illicit sensual relations, one will fail to do so. What then would a person do if he went to the Himalayas or Kulachala? Such acts of renunciation are not possible in this age. Therefore, Lord Krishna had advised us to accept the Bhakti Yoga process. Bhakti Yoga will automatically liberate a person from the dualities of life. In Bhakti Yoga, Krishna is the center, and Krishna is always transcendent. Thus, in order to transcend dualities, one must always engage in the service of the Lord, as confirmed by Bhagavad Gita 14.26. Mamchayo avyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevati sagunan samitaitanam brahma bhuyaya kalpate. One who engages in full devotional service, who does not fall down in any circumstance, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman. If one is factually engaged in the service of the Lord, Bhakti Yoga, he will automatically control his senses, his tongue, and so many other things. Once engaged in the Bhakti Yoga process with all sincerity, one will have no chance of falling down. Even if one falls down, there is no loss. One's devotional activities may be stunned or choked for the time being, but as soon as there is another chance, the practitioner begins from the point where he left off. Hare Krishna.
So now this is the life of Malayadhwaja and Vaitarhi in the forest. Through austerity, Malayadhwaj in body and mind gradually became equal to dualities. Right. So what is the meaning of becoming equal to dualities? That means the dualities are not affecting the desired action. Right. We have seen this very elaborately with the case of Arjuna and Dronacharya, many other examples. Not affecting one's spiritual and even the the Varnashrama duties. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that liberation means becoming free from the relativities of the material world. What a beautiful statement this is. What is liberation? Right. So, what is liberation? Liberation means to become free from dualities or relativities of the material world. There are many relativities. Lord Krishna describes this. Matra sparashastu kaunteya, shita ushna sukha dukkhada, agama apayino anitya, tam titikshasva bharata. That there is happiness and distress, there is victory and defeat, there are the easy situations and tough situations, so on and so forth. Sometimes we have done our studies very well for the exam, sometimes question paper is out of the syllabus. So in all these dualities, one has to remain equipoised, meaning it doesn't mean that it will not affect one's emotions, but the emotions will not affect the action or the sense of duty. So this is called, Prabhupada says, winter we wish not to enter bathroom. Summer we want to be in the bathroom for the whole day. These are the dualities, right? So to the degree we become agitated, to that degree we are conditioned. And therefore here, what is advised is one has to tolerate all these dualities. Now Malayadhwaja, in the previous age, he performed severe austerities. He left home, he was living in a sacred place, taking bath in the river, and eating all this ashtamulani and everything. And Srila Prabhupada writes it is very difficult in this age to perform all these austerities. Such renunciation is not possible in this age. This is very important point. Because later in the 7th canto, there is going to be Narada Muni's description, where Narada Muni describes what a Vanaprastha is supposed to do. But all those descriptions are for the previous ages and not for so much for the Kali Yuga. Right. And then what one has to do? One has to simply engage in devotional service. And Srila Prabhupada quotes Bhagavad Gita that how by devotional service one will at once transcend the three modes of material nature and become Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma. And this begins, as soon as we engage in devotional service, automatically there is control of the senses, control of the tongue, and eventually, one will become liberated by the easy, simple process of devotional service, which is simple and sublime. Text 38. Tapasa vidyaya pakvan kashayo niyamairiyamaihi yuyujo brahmanyatmanam vijitaksha anilashayah. Translation?
Translation: by worshipping, executing austerities, and following the regulative principles, King Maladhwaja conquered his senses, his life, and his consciousness. Thus, he fixed everything on the central point of the Supreme Brahman, Krishna. Purport. Whenever the word Brahman appears, the impersonals take this to mean the impersonal effulgence, the Brahma Jyoti. Actually, however, Parabrahman, the Supreme Brahman, is Krishna Vasudeva. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 7.19, Vasudeva Sarvam Iti. Vasudeva extends everywhere as the impersonal Brahman. One cannot fix one's mind upon an impersonal something. Bhagavad Gita 12.5 therefore says, Klesho Dikatarasa Tesham Avyakta Sakta Chetasam. For those whose minds are attached to the unmanifested, impersonal feature of the supreme advancement is very troublesome. Consequently, when it is said herein that King Maladhwaja fixed his mind on Brahman, Brahman means the supreme personality of Godhead Vasudeva. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Tapasa vidya, Pakwan. So, by tapasya and vidya, by worshipping and following yama niyamayir, following the rules and regulations, Malayadhwaja conquered his senses, his life, and consciousness. The word for consciousness is ashaya, is being used here, right? Vijita, aksha, anila, ashaya. So aksha is the senses, anila is the life, and ashaya is the senses. It's the consciousness. And he focused all that on the Supreme Brahman. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains Supreme Brahman. And the impersonalists, they suddenly receive a jerk. They say, oh, Brahman. No, the Brahman here is Vasudeva Sarvamiti Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. Malayadhvaj was a great Mahatma. And he realized that the Supreme Brahman is Lord Vasudeva. Because people do not understand Param Bhavam Ajananto. And what is that Param Bhav? That three levels of the absolute truth. Vadanti tat tattvavidas. Tattvam yajnanam advayam. Brahmeti paramatmeti. Bhagavan iti shabdate. So, absolute truth is realized in Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. And sometimes the Supreme Lord is also called as Paramatma. Sometimes the Supreme Lord is also called as Brahman. But here, the context here is he became devotee of Krishna, Lord Vasudeva. Text 39. आस्ते स्थानुरैकत्र दिव्यं वर्षशतं स्थिरः वासुदेवे भगवती नान्यत् उद्वहनं रतिं नान्यत् वेद उद्वहनं रतिं. Translation.
In this way, he stayed immovable in one place for 100 years by the calculation of the demigods. After this time, he developed pure devotional attraction for Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and remained fixed in that position. Purport. Bahunam janmanam ante jnanvam mam prapadyante Vasudeva sarvam iti sa mahatma sudurlabha. After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. Bhagavad Gita 7.19. Vasudeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is everything. And one who knows this is the greatest of all transcendentalists. It is stated in Bhagavad Gita that one realizes this after many births. This is also confirmed in this verse with the words Divyam Varsha Shatam, 100 years according to the calculation of the demigods. According to the calculations of the demigods, one day, 12 hours is equal to 6 months on earth. 100 years of the demigods would equal 36,000 earth years. Thus, King Malayadhwaj executed austerities and penances for 36,000 years. After this time, he became fixed in the devotional service of the Lord. To live on earth for so many years, one has to take birth many times. This confirms the conclusion of Krishna. To come to the conclusion of Krishna consciousness and remain fixed in the realization that Krishna is everything, as well as render service unto Krishna, are characteristics of the perfectional stage. As said in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya 22.62, Krishna Bhakti Kaile Sarva Karma Kritahaya. When one comes to the conclusion that Krishna is everything by worshipping or by rendering devotional service unto Krishna, one actually becomes perfect in all respects. Not only must one come to the conclusion that Krishna is everything, but he must remain fixed in this realization. This is the highest perfection of life, and it is this perfection that King Malayadhwaj attained at the end.
Yeah. So King Malayadhwaj, he remained like this, immovable in one place for 100 years of demigods. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains, Thus he developed the pure devotional attraction for Krishna and remained fixed in that position. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that this realization, Vasudeva Sarvamiti, is not an easy realization, right? Bahunam Janmanamante, after many, many lifetimes, Jnanavan, person in the knowledge, Mam Prapadyate, finally he will pick up bead bag and chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So what we are practicing is extremely rare. There is a huge krupa by Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Bij. So there is Guru Krupa, Krishna Krupa, and even the endeavor of the Jiva also. Bahunam Janmanamante, when he has attained this krupa. And Prabhupada writes here, just like Malayadhwaja took 36,000 years, right? That means, even if 100 years you consider one human life, 360 births Malaya happened to take in this way. And therefore, Prabhupada concludes here that Bahunam Janmanamante. It is, when one comes to the point of devotional service, it is lifetimes of activities, right? Currently, it's a beautiful Vari going on here. So they say, Bahut Sukrutanchi Jodi. After, Sukrut being performed for many, many lifetime, Tochi Vithala Avadi. Then only one will have attraction towards Lord Vithala. And then Srila Prabhupada says, not only it is, one must come to the conclusion that Krishna is everything, one must remain fixed in that realization. This is very important thing, right? Remaining fixed in that realization, that beautiful verse, 4.20.9 SB, Vriddha Sevaya. Lord is saying, Prithu Maharaj, well done, Prithu. That we have to remain fixed in this realization of Vasudeva Sarvamiti. And this was the case of King Malayadhwaja till the point of his end life. Text 40. Sah vyapakatam atmanam vyatiriktayatmani vidvan swapne ivamarshe sakshinam vidaramah. Translation.
King Malayadhwaja attained perfect knowledge by being able to distinguish the supersoul from the individual soul. The individual soul is localized, whereas the supersoul is all-pervasive. He became perfect in knowledge that the material body is not the soul, but that the soul is the witness of the material body. Purport: the conditioned soul is often frustrated in trying to understand the distinctions between the material body, the supersoul, and the individual soul. There are two types of Mayavadi philosophers: the philosophers of the Buddhist philosophy and the philosophers of the Shankara philosophy. The followers of Buddha do not recognize that there is anything beyond the body. The followers of Shankara conclude that there is no separate existence of the Paramatma, the Supersoul. They believe that the individual soul is identical with the Paramatman in the ultimate analysis. But the Vaishnava philosopher, who is perfect in knowledge, knows that the body is made of external energy and that the Supersoul, the Paramatma, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is sitting with the individual soul and is distinct from him. As the Lord Krishna states in Bhagavad Gita 13.3, Kshetragyam chapi mam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata kshetra yayor janam tat yat taj jnanam mamam matam mama. O Shion of Bharata, you should understand that I am also the knower in all bodies, and to understand this body and its owner is called knowledge. That is my opinion. The body is taken to be the field, and the individual soul is taken to be the worker in that field. Yet there is another who is known as the supersoul, who along with the individual soul simply witnesses. The individual soul works and enjoys the fruits of the body, whereas the supersoul simply witnesses the activities of the individual soul, but does not enjoy the fruits of those activities. The super soul is present in every field of activity, whereas the individual soul is present in his one localized body. King Mayadvaja attained this perfection of knowledge and was able to distinguish between the soul and the super soul, and the soul and the material body. Hare Krishna.
So in this way, King Malayadhwaja attained perfect knowledge. And what is that perfect knowledge? The first step of perfect knowledge is we are not the body, but we are the spirit soul. Right? After a long tapasya, Malayadhwaj realized this. And the second is, although we are soul, we are not super soul. Right? So these are the two important realizations of the perfect knowledge. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that there are two types of philosophers. One is Buddhist philosopher who say everything is zero, right? Shunyam. And then there are Shankarites who say everything is one. So this is very binary philosophies. Everything is zero, everything is one. But the Vaishnavas, they perfectly know that the body and soul, they are different. And soul and super soul, they are qualitatively one, but existentially and quantitatively different. And that beautiful philosophy, as it is uh, pronounced by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Achintya Bheda Abheda Tattva, is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Kshetrajnam cha apimam vidhi. I am also. Lord Krishna doesn't say, I am. He said, I am also the knower of all the bodies. So there is a kshetra. Kshetra means body. Kshetrajna means the knower of the body. So, the soul in the given body is the kshetrajna, but he is not aware of how much pain the other body is perceiving because he is not present in that body. Just like, somebody, you have somebody who has suffering from, say, knee replacement or, the knee problem. You may know the pain through some symptoms on the face, but you will not realize the pain because you are not present in that body. So this is the limitation of the kshetra of the living entity, whereas the Supreme Lord is present in every body. But what is the difference? The difference is the jiva is enjoying and suffering the body. Jiva is enjoying also the body. Jiva is suffering also the body. But the super soul is simply witnessing this fruit tasting bird and simply waiting, Upadrishta cha Anumanta cha Bharta Bhokta Maheshwara as Paramatma. And realizing these two things, they are called as perfection of the knowledge. Realizing that we are not the body, but we are the spirit soul. Going through the journey of the body. And second is, although we are spirit soul, we are not the super soul. Right? So distinction between body and soul, is the antidote to Buddhist philosophy. And the distinction between the soul and super soul is the antidote to Shankara philosophy that everything is one. So this is how beautifully Srila Prabhupada describes this. What are the antidotes? Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. So zero is antidote to Buddhist philosophy, and one is antidote to Achintya Bheda Bheda is antidote to Shankara philosophy. That is impersonalism. Text 41. Sakshat Bhagavatoktena Guruna Harina Nrupa Vishuddha Jnana Deepena Spurata Vishvato Mukham. Translation.
In this way, King Malayadhwaja attained perfect knowledge because in his pure state he was directly instructed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By means of such enlightening transcendental knowledge, he could understand everything from all angles of vision. Purport. In this verse, the word Sakshat Bhagavato Tema, Bhagavatoktena, Guruna Harina are very significant. The Supreme Personality of Godhead speaks directly to the individual soul when the devotee has completely purified himself by rendering devotional service to the Lord. Lord Krishna confirms in Bhagavad Gita 10.10. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yenamam upayanti te. To those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. The Lord is a super soul seated in everyone's heart, and he acts as the Chaitya Guru, the spiritual master within. However, he gives direct instructions only to the advanced pure devotees. In the beginning, when a devotee is serious and sincere, the Lord gives him directions from within to approach a bona fide spiritual master. When one is trained by the spiritual master according to the regulative principles of devotional service and is situated on the platform of spontaneous attachment for the Lord, Raga Bhakti, the Lord also gives instructions from within. Tesham satatayuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam. This distinct advantage is obtained by by a liberated soul. Having attained this stage, King Maledwaja was directly in touch with the Supreme Lord and was receiving instructions from him directly.
Yeah. So now here, Malayadwaja attained the perfect knowledge because of this pure state, and he was directly instructed by the Supreme, and thus he could understand everything from all angles of vision. Vishwato Mukham, the word is Vishwato Mukham, all angles of vision. Right. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that the word Sakshat Bhagavatoktena Guruna Harina Nrupa, that the Supreme Lord will act as a guru in two ways. In the preliminary stage of devotional service, the Lord will send a spiritual master and will give direct instruction through the Vani of the spiritual master. And therefore, it is very important to hear spiritual master, associate with spiritual master. When our spiritual master takes yatras, we should make it a point to attain those yatras. Right. So, and then finally, when the person is purified, and then the Supreme Lord will give instruction from within. And that is Tesham Satat Yuktanam Bhajatam Priti Purvakam Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam. The Lord will give buddhi from within, and this is how Prabhupada says, in the Vaidhi Marg, devotee will receive instructions from the spiritual master, and in the Raga Bhakti, when he reaches to the Raga Marg, he will receive the directly instructions from the Supreme Lord, because he has now become a liberated soul. The meaning of receiving direct instructions from the Supreme Lord is a devotee will mold his understanding in sync with parampara. He doesn't become an upstart saying that now I become liberated, I have direct communication, hotline with Krishna. No, not like that. He's in sync with parampara and he understands what Guru Parampara wants him to do, and that is the desire of the Supreme Lord. So, this is very important that one is in sync with the parampara. Right. So, we will conclude here and continue tomorrow. Shri the Prabhupada ki jai,
Jai.
Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Thank you,
Jai.
Prabhupada. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhupada.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you,
Thank you,
Prabhuji.
Prabhupada.
Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Prabhuji. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Thank you,
Hare
Prabhupada.
Krishna,
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, can I ask one question?
Yes, please.
Prabhuji, in today's verse, we read about how we have to tolerate the dualities of life, and we have read this and heard this so many times. But Prabhuji, when you're actually in situation, for me, I'm speaking, then by the time you remember this knowledge, it's too late. You have already reacted, and then when you are in the situations, it is also mentioned in today's verse that we just know this is to realize how conditioned we are. But Prabhuji, how not to be affected by these dualities, and how, when you're in this situation, how to remember this knowledge, and where do we get the strength to face these agitating situations?
So
How not to
initially,
be affected?
initially there is understanding, right? But there is a gulf of difference between understanding and realization. So that is what Bhagavad Gita says, Jnana and Vijnana. So Vijnana will come by, the repeated hearing and the strength of devotional service. So at least now, we are understanding that, I am overreacting, right? At least we are understanding. So there is a step, there is an action, and there is a reaction. But at least after the reaction, we are understanding, it's like overreaction I have given. It should not have been like this. And then all statements will, blink in our mind. Ability of greatness of a man has to be estimated by his ability to tolerate provoking situations. And it will, slowly, it will come to a point where, we will come before reaction, these statements will come in our mind. But that doesn't mean that we are immune to emotions. And that is never the purpose. Purpose is not to make everybody a stone. Whatever happens to them, they are simply stone faced. No. Emotions are very, very important part of life. Emotions are very important part of Krishna conscious life. What is important is emotions should not affect our duties, spiritual duties and varnashrama duties. So now at least currently, we are understanding after the reaction. Slowly we will understand during the reaction, and then later we'll understand before the reaction. Right? Right? So it is the tapasya. We have to go through life, and that's how the life is.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhupada.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhupada.
Hare
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Krishna.
Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.